I'm Megan O'Leary here with TUF finalist Dennis Bermudez. Dennis, I know you're from New York. Tell everybody a little bit about how you got into MMA.
I've grew up wrestling, and my style of wrestling is super aggressive, in your face, grind you out, get you tired, and once my wrestling career came to a halt, a lot of people and MMA was getting on the rise. A lot of people you should try MMA, It's like yeah, maybe. And then a mutual friend of mine, Joey Gambino, he was 2-0 amateur. Come down and roll, I went down, rolled with him, did really well, and his trainer was like, "How old are you?" 22. You gotta get into it, And from there, I just watching UFC. I was like, man, I could beat him. I can. So I just stepped into a gym one day and I asked who their best guy was and rolled, and then it was on from there.
Now, where do you train out of in New York?
I train out of Long Island MMA and Belmore Kickboxing.
Okay, is there anybody that we would know that you train with?
Um, Gian, he's on Strike Force. What's his last name? Gian Vellante. Chris Weidman trains there sometimes, and you're gonna see Ryan LaFleur and Gregor Gillespie coming up soon.
All right. Now, when you got into the TUF house, just getting into the house was a pretty big battle for you. Was there ever a question in that fight to get into the house of whether you were going to make it or not?
The first round, I was mentally focused and ready to rock, but there was lag between my body and my mind, So that first round was almost like a warm up for me. I went back to my corner. My corner's telling me what I gotta do, and I'm like, well, I'm getting hit anyways, so I'm gonna throw too, So I went in there and threw with him, and in between rounds, I told my corner, they were telling me what to do. I got this, and then I just went out with a whole new mindset, and we got it done.
You were one of the guys who showed the most heart this season. I think when anybody thinks about that, your name comes up. Because you had a great fight with Akira then, too. I mean, explain to me that whole thing, because you and Akira didn't really get along. He was kind of bothering people in the house, and then you had that crazy fight as well.
Akira, I've hung out with Akira outside of the house, before the show, and he's actually a really nice dude. He's actually really cool and stuff like that. And I get it, it was part of his game plan to get into the other fighter's head and stuff like that. But it didn't faze me. And just growing up, anything I've ever done, I've given it my all. I could be playing football and be down, 49-7, but I'm gonna play my heart out till the very end. I'm gonna try and hurt somebody or make something happen. And that's how I wrestled. A lot of times in college, I'd be down, 8 points in the first period, and I would just keep going. In the third period, they'd be so tired that it just became a takedown clinic, and then I'd win by 2 or something like that. So I just never give up. That's my attitude.
Now, you just mentioned your wrestling. How has that helped you throughout the house? Because it is a very stressful situation. And then fighters always say that being a wrestler helped prepare them mentally to be a fighter. It's the best training you can have. Would you agree with that?
Oh, for sure. I feel like college wrestling coaches get creative and try to make up stuff to just make you quit. I've thought about quitting twice. And I've told my coach, I'm done with this shit. And he was like threatened to beat my ass. So oh, I guess I gotta stay on the team. But just going back to just the grueling training and wrestling and just how your body feels. I just know that probably 75% of the MMA community hasn't felt that or knows what it's like to just be on the verge of man, I don't know if I could do this anymore. So with that in my history bank, it's definitely comes a long way.
You're facing Diego on Saturday night. He was kind of looked at as the feared man in the house by everyone else. Do you know why that was, and where do you feel his weaknesses are? Where do you feel there's a hole in his game? Because obviously you've been studying him and preparing for this fight.
Right. He's a feared man in the house, I guess, because, if he had a problem with anybody, he'd go right in their face, hey, F you, man, and whatever. So, a lot of people are like, whoa, this guy's off his rocker, and they'd back down or whatever. Yeah, so I mean, and then in where I see a weakness, he's got loopy punches. I mean, he hits hard if he hooks up, but if you look closely, you can see him coming from a while away. So we're gonna get in there, hit a bunch of quick punches and get out. Quick punches, hit down. Take him down, grind him out.
All right, before I let you go, we always like to hear, we see a lot on TV about the show, but we obviously don't see anything near to as much as you went through. What's one of your favorite memories that was not aired?
Sitting in the sauna with Dustin Pegg, Johnny Bedford, Dr. Ryan Parsons, and Mayhem. We just, we'd be in the sauna just having a good time, just reminiscing and just hanging out. And the combos, I can't talk about them, but they were good.
All right, we understand. Well, good luck on Saturday. We're looking forward to that fight.
Thank you.
Thanks, buddy.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry. It was nice meeting you.
No, it's a pleasure.